can you be disabled and go to a play party? I'm here with Robin Wilson-Beattie from @sex-abled, and I'm Kathy Bartoli from theintimacydojo.com. And Robin, you have a disability.
Yes.
Can you be disabled and go to a play party? Do they let you?
Yes. You can have a disability and go to a play party.
I think so. If you playful about it.
No, I got it. But no, yes, you can, like everything else that has to do with disability, inclusion, and access is a real issue.
It certainly is, yeah.
And
depending on your disability,
it depends on your disability. But when we're talking about access and disability is more than just how your body operates. It also has to do with social barriers to spaces. Like it's hard. You can't be included if you can't access a space, or if you can't get in. So that's like that's the barrier for you, not so much being able to actually play, but to get into the space to play in the first place. But there are all kinds of disabilities. Not all disabilities are mobility related. And there's mental health. There are hidden disabilities and visible disabilities. Chronic health, chronic pain, mental health, depression, ADHD, all of those. There's so many disabilities that people have that they don't see, and there are also physical disabilities. But the thing is, it's up to that person to communicate what their access needs are. But also, it is awesome when community people who are throwing these events also have an idea about what access and inclusion means, and how to embrace and make it possible for people with disabilities to participate if they choose to. And I can talk about some of the, if you want, talk about some of the ways access.
I would love to. I think one of the biggest things I just want to put in was, to reach out to the person hosting and find out.
Yes.
Like our FAC for mine, because I host them in my home. It's I don't have, like, the bathrooms aren't handicapped, and and I put in the fact that there's 3 steps up to the front door. There's a railing. But if that was a hard access for them, like I can, if people give me advance notice, I can try to accommodate some of those things. And there's also limits on the space.
There's limits on the space. And first off, yes, reaching out to your host is key. Finding out, hey, what's the space like? People with disability, we've learned to adapt the world that's not made for inclusion, so we learn to make adaptations for ourselves. There are people that have, and also for spaces, if they ever want to think, there are portable ramps that people can go over like a few steps. So a chair can access, somebody that uses a chair can access a space. There are, but not all people with mobility disabilities, are challenged by stairs, because a lot of times people think, okay, well, that access, we have stairs, so therefore we're not disability friendly. Like, well, there are other disabilities that, and it sucks, that a lot of times that spaces are, and it leaves out people, and there's so many people who would be interested and left out. Because when play parties and things like that are happening in private spaces, but such is the nature.
Well, it's hard to. I can't go downtown and.
Yeah, you can't be like, oh, guess what? Oh, you know what? I would like to rent your back room for a play party.
Yeah, they don't talk to you.
They don't want to do that. And so that's why, like, at conventions and things like that happen in hotels, like sex-positive conferences and things like that. then I like the fact that, yes, that those play parties and things like that, are accessible as far as someone, it doesn't matter what your mobility needs is or in order to access the space. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm saying that there's all kinds of different conferences and stuff where people mm-hmm. have things like that that are sex positive. But as far as private spaces, your local spaces, things like that, you know what your needs are. One of the best things, that's the other thing too. People with disabilities, we're used to having to plan things in advance.
Well, it
anyway.
helps. We've had an issue with someone and I hate to put the burden back on the other person, but we had someone show up and say, "I have this problem." We're like, the party's starting in 3 minutes, and we, how do we it was a real scramble. And if they, we request notice ahead.
Okay, yeah, and so that's the thing. Yeah, and to be, and as a host too, it's like if you have any access concerns or considerations, mm-hmm. please contact.
Yeah, because if we know, there's much better.
So we can see how we can, help meet your needs. Mm-hmm. And see if we're able to help meet your needs.
Yeah.
Or how we can accommodate it, so we can see how we can make an accommodation.
I always want to try, we had someone who was visually impaired, and we found someone that was glad to kind of be the escort.
Oh yeah, and do audio descriptions and help. Yeah, be a guide. Yeah. Yes.
And that worked out. We were so glad to be able to include that person.
And that is awesome. And that's the thing though, people who have access needs, it's important for us to speak up and communicate that I would like to participate. Mm-hmm. Here are my accommodation needs that I do, do you think this can be met? And just like the same way we have to do with travel or anything else where we have to plan in advance, a play party is no different from anything else when we're trying to talk about that. Also, I understand that can be intimidating, mm-hmm. and it can also sometimes people with
it's extra labor.
It's extra labor, not to mention a lot of times due to ableism and things like that, people with disabilities do what they can to make the able-bodied people feel more comfortable mm-hmm. with them. And I found that I have done that. I do that all the time.
For what you need.
Yeah, but to make it comfortable so that they are still included. So I might, it's horrible. I'm having to unlearn mm-hmm. a lot of these behaviors because as I'm teaching and talking to people, I'm like, oh God, I do the same thing. Mm-hmm. But
I like the 3 fingers pointing back at me.
Yeah, exactly. But where I'm like, oh yeah, I can do this or I can do that. Oh, you don't have to worry about me. I can do that. Because I want to be able to go.
I noticed you did that last night.
Yeah.
We were sitting on the couch. I'm like, do you need something? And you're like, oh yeah, I can ask. And I was really glad to get what you needed. Yeah,
exactly. I was like, I can ask for assistance accommodation. But, a lot of times, people, I see because you get, and it's changing, but, people will be like, they don't want to be seen as a burden mm-hmm. or extra or or as, I've had somebody once refer to some medical problems as I was having or whatever, not at a play party, but as drama. And so, and it's your body, your disability, that's not drama.
No, that's
just your body doing your body thing. But being able to, but it's hard. It is hard to ask that help, especially when you grow up in a society where you're taught that
you're too much,
and that whole independence and mm-hmm. That whole pull yourself up by your bootstrap mentality. That's just not how we work anyway as humans. We all need help. Mm-hmm. Everybody needs help to get through in this world. And so but being able to speak up and ask for that access, and especially when we're talking about sex and, you know, like going to play.
There's already a lot of shame.
There's already a lot of shame, and saying, hey, I need some help so I can be a part of, you know, playing and enjoying this sexy space too.
Yeah.
So yeah, planning in advance. It helps it.
Yeah, and reaching out and finding out what the
reaching out and finding out,
accommodate.
and it might, and sometimes, yes, and depending on the nature of your community and things like that, you know, the space is not going to be accessible or meet your access needs.
But and also might be we haven't thought of it before.
It might have been something though that somebody hasn't thought of.
We now have a quiet space out back as far as the weather's nice for people that are overstimulated. We have a scent free.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I was like, say for instance, like people scent free. Being able to say, hey, you know, speaking up. I'm seeing more and more people that need scent-free spaces.
Well, since we're so inundated with them, it gets more sensitive, but...
Yeah, and so, like, I've now even just changed... I've changed, like, the kind of products and stuff that I use because I am sensitive to the fact that not everybody can take the assage of chemicals.
Well, it's just like hotels now, they use the commercial scent like to kind of market with scent. And I just walk in, I'm like, I don't have asthma, but I can barely breathe.
Yeah. So, you know, but thinking about those things, but you know, but at the end of the day, like everything else, it is. You know, it all starts with the communication and the ability to communicate those needs, but also if that space doesn't exist, trying to maybe work with other people and figure out how to make a space or find a space that exists, because sometimes people don't realize that there is an interest from people, and you know, this is the barrier that is preventing them from participating. And you know, so that's just so I think that especially that's something for people to keep in mind, and also just, you know, being able, when you're going in and asking for accommodations, sometimes what I do too is I try to already in advance think of a solution to, like, say that I knew that I was gonna, you know, like I needed to use the chair, because sometimes I use the chair like for longer distances and stuff. I have to ask I'll ask in advance, you know, if, you know, it has, you know, is it accessible for me to get in? How many steps? And it was like, there are portable ramps that can go over like 3 or 4 steps or whatever. And I had one and I used that so I could get in.
Which sounds a lot more secure than having strangers lift you upstairs in a chair.
Yeah, strangers lifting, that's terrifying. Also, it takes away your autonomy. There are, you know, but I like to think of, you know, solutions, you know, that maybe, you know, help brainstorm for solutions, and sometimes there might not be, and so and it'll be disappointing. But I'll find another way, like going, like, okay, I have a friend who's a chair user and wanting to go to a play party with them. We were like, okay, I won't go to play party, but we knew that, like, with private residences and stuff like that, we're like, okay, so we went to play party at a convention. You know, and
for the hotel, it has to be accessible.
Where this hotel is accessible. Hotels are awesome. So if when event planners, like, if you can plan something like that in a hotel space, like the suites or whatever, or things like that, you know, that, you know, you stay at hotels and you go to stuff and cons and stuff. If you could, those are like really great inclusive. But like you were saying, it's like I was trying to say earlier. Yeah, there are more disabilities in different ways that people need accommodation. Like you mentioned about a person who was blind, needed a guide, or an audio descriptor. I've also people who are like, okay, I have a service animal, and being able to communicate that ahead of time, and
to find out if that's
acceptable, because not all, and also like services that because some people have service, there are service animals that do specific things that this person needs, but it's just, there's a lot of, it's all about advance. Mm-hmm. It's about advanced preparation, and also the realization about, okay, this is where we currently are in terms of access, and speaking up and showing that there is a need for this because there is an interest. That's key to inclusion.
Yeah. And I think it's wonderful when we can include as many people as possible in events. And if you are, it's something you struggle with and you want to experience a play party, reaching out and asking and finding groups that can accommodate. And like you said, like maybe this play party you can't get in, but maybe you could say, hey, is there anything else? Can you give me other resources?
Yeah, like, do you have any other recommendations of things, events like this?
Yeah.
That, or, perhaps be, accessible. And sometimes, and access is, sometimes it's like about how do you get there in the first place? Like, is it on public transport? Or,
which is, if you take Silicon Valley is very hard.
Yeah, and, but San Francisco is a little easier. How, but transportation is, there are like lots of different layers, but
just, if you can, don't let that be a deterrent for you to try to experience being in a play party if that's something you're interested in.
Yes.
And I know it's extra labor and courage, and you already have to spend a lot just getting around life, but a lot of people are going to do what they can to accommodate and make it as easy as possible for you.
And that's it.
Yeah. Thanks very much for listening. Really appreciate it. And if you have questions, please leave them below. We'll try to answer them. Cool. Thanks, Robin.
Thanks.